Hello, welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Pikachu Pokemon Cake Pop tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this really cute little Pikachu cake pop. So tools and equipment that we will be using today, I've got a couple of pre-made ears and I'll be showing you how to make those today. I've got two little red, I think they're called red sequins or little red sprinkles, but you can also use just a little dollop of red candy melt for this. I've got black candy melts, you can also use dark chocolate. I've got some white non-pariels or plain white sprinkles, and you can also use white chocolate, just a tiny amount. I've got some water, just plain water. I've got my cake pop ball. Now, if you don't have a great recipe for getting your cake pop balls to this stage ready to dip and decorate, I will leave a link to the MyCupcakeAddiction recipe in the description box below, and that one has been refrigerated for about 15 minutes, so it's really quite nice, firm and cool. I've got a lollipop stick, a couple of toothpicks, I've got some melted yellow chocolate or candy wafers, depending on what you like to use. So either white chocolate dyed with a little bit of powder colour, colour paste or colour gel, never liquid colours. And I've got a bit of wax paper and a Ziploc bag. I've just finished making our really cute little Pokeball candy bombs. So if you're looking to do a little bit of a Pokemon themed event, you could definitely pair the two of these together. They look absolutely fantastic. So let's get started. Now the first thing that we want to do is we're going to take that lollipop stick and you want to dip it about 1 centimetre or so in that yellow chocolate, and then there should be a little bit of a flat bottom where you've been drying it or setting it in the fridge. So I'm just going to insert that stick about halfway into that ball. So that's going to give you a really nice little chocolate seal. We're going to sit that over here to fully dry. Now I did that first. You can put it in the fridge to accelerate the drying process of that chocolate, but I did that first because I know that we're going to pipe our little ears. Okay, I've also got a pair of scissors here, so I'm just going to pour a little bit of that candy melt into our Ziploc bag, and this is just going to act like a little bit of a piping bag. With these ears, I suggest piping a few extra than you think you're going to need, because there will be some that kind of come out a little bit wonky or you're not quite happy with the size and you may break one or two. So I'm just going to cut just a very fine little tip off that bag, and that's just going to fashion our Ziploc bag into a bit of a makeshift piping bag. Now, for Pikachu's ears, what you're looking for is just sort of like a bit of an arc on one side and a bit of an arc on the other. So don't make these too fat, and once you've got your little outline, just pipe in a little bit more of that chocolate, and then without even squeezing, I'm just using the bag just to push that chocolate down into those little outlined bits. There's one ear. Now here's the tricky part, is getting the two of them relatively even. They're not too bad at all. So just piping out your second ear. So pop those off into the fridge for about 5 minutes or so until they're fully set. When they come out, they're going to come off that wax paper really easily. Now, as I mentioned, I've pre-prepared a couple just for a little bit of ease of time for us today. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to get your ears at the ready, ears and your little cheeks. And you want to take that cake pop ball, that seal will be nice and set now, and we're going to dip it into our yellow chocolate. Make sure that that chocolate meets all the way up and just covers that yellow candy melt seal or that yellow chocolate seal. And then I'm just going to tap off any excess as I turn the cake pop. All right, now you don't want to let that set too much before you add in your ears. So I'm just going to turn the ball around and just find your best side, so the neatest looking side. And then I'm going to put in one of Pikachu's ears, mainly into the chocolate, but just ever so slightly pushing it into that ball. And then I'm going to pop the other one out on a little bit of an angle. This one here, I actually want a little bit. Perfect. So you should have one ear that's sort of sticking up and the other one going out on an angle. Now, you want to take those little cheeks and you want to put those cheeks right sort of down about the bottom quarter in line with those ears. Perfect. Now you want to let that completely set before we go and do any of the other detailing. All right, so I've let my little Pikachu completely dry. Now, we want to start adding a little bit of the detailing. So we're just going to dip just the tips of his ears on a bit of an angle into that black candy melt. So you'll see that I've used quite a shallow bowl for my candy melt. Perfect. And then the other one. Make sure that you're looking at them as you do it so that you can just sort of see how far in you're dipping and what sort of an angle you're getting them on. Perfect. There's our little dipped ears. Now, you want to do your mouth next. So we're going to do the mouth just dipping in. You can use a Ziploc bag here as a bit of a piping bag, but I found it just as easy and that I had a bit more control. Just dipping in with the toothpick and just starting in the center of one cheek. And you can choose what expression you want your little Pokemon to have. I just went with a relatively easy one, which is just this little smile. And then for the eyes. So for the eyes, you want to take, I guess, a decent amount on that toothpick. So you can see there I've actually got quite a bit on the toothpick. And then I'm going to place one blob down for his eye. Wipe off that toothpick, and I'm just going to use the same toothpick just to take I guess a little bit of that tip off the eye. Because when you use a toothpick to pop the eye down, it's going to leave, I guess, a little bit of a pointy tip. Now I'm going to take that other toothpick, I'm going to dip it in the water, and that's just going to moisten it so that I can use it to pick up just a couple of those little white sprinkles. So you only want one, and then you'll just decide whereabouts you want to position his eyeball, depending on where you want him to be looking. So just push it in with that toothpick, and it gives him the little bright of his eye and just really brings him to life. Now, as I mentioned, you can use white chocolate for that, but I prefer to use the white sprinkles just because they're always a consistent size and they give it a little bit of a three-dimensional bright of the eye. It's just moving on to the second eye, and we can repeat that process. Perfect, and we're almost finished. You just want to wipe off that toothpick and just take a little bit more and give him a little tiny nose. So there you've got your gorgeous little Pikachu Pokemon cake pop. If you love this cake pop, make sure that you check out our Pokeball candy bombs. They're really sweet and they've got a gorgeous little candy surprise inside. They'll match perfectly with these Pikachu cake pops. As always, thanks very much for tuning in to My Cupcake Addiction.